Hello, my name is Mackenzie Moore.
My name is Amaya Price.
And I'm Essence Thornton.
And we are a part of Young Ladies Aspiring Greatness, whose mission is to go into the community and give back while also trying to better ourselves.
And we are here with Commissioner Jeffrey Mims.
And today we'll be discussing how to resolve and handling conflict.
Okay, great.
So can you give us a background of what you've done for the community?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me here. And they told me that I was here, and sometimes as flamboyant as I may think I am, but they say if I come here on this show, you ladies would make sure that you make me look good. So I appreciate that very much, and I appreciate the organization and what you're doing. So just basically first, certainly right now I am a sitting Dayton City Commissioner, just elected for my second term last year. So I'm into my fifth year in terms of doing that. It's something I enjoy very much, because it allows me to make a large contribution to the community and to make great things happen for its citizens, both young and old. We have been involved in a variety of things, and one of the things that I'm dealing with right now that is very major is to lead President Obama's My Brother's Keepers initiative in the city of Dayton, where I work with a lot of fraternities and other men and other organizations to go into the schools and to try to create a positive supplement, if you will, to helping our young men find their positive self and then be able to use their self and their skills to improve society, to go through school, to graduate with the potential of having a strong career, or the ability to go to college, or the ability to go to the military, or any combination of those sets of things. And so when I listened to your mission in terms of what you're trying to do, it's very, very similar. So I'm happy to be here with you ladies as well.
We're happy to be here with you as well.
Okay. Yeah. Additionally, I am a Vietnam veteran. I'm a former teacher and former coach in the school system, former school board president, state board member, and just another one of the major activities that I've been involved with in working with the young black men throughout the Dayton area as the drill master and mentor for the Jack and Jill Botillion Militaire. It's a program that I've been doing for the last 43 years, in which this timing is great because we're going to be starting off our program sometime in January. So we're still recruiting young men of color from the area high schools who are high school seniors and who want to be in a part of a program that's going to help sort of polish that little diamond that they have right now that's a little bit rough, and sort of put them in a position to be a very positive contributing factor to society. So that's a little bit about me, and again, I'm very happy to be here and to respond to these very challenging questions that you have.
Okay, so to begin, our first question is, how do you think we should react when a teacher accuses us of academic dishonesty?
Well, that's as all your questions, that's a very challenging question. First of all, the issue in terms of saying to a person, first of all, that you did not do that. Being able to clearly justify what you've done and what you have not done. Your character is something that is extremely important. Character is something that you try to build each and every day of your life. And like I'm sure like your parents, like a lot of parents, like my parents told me when I was younger, don't go out in society and be messing up the family name. So don't be going out there doing no stupid stuff.
Right.
Okay? So you need to try to, as best you can, without being confrontational, explain that, again, that's not your character, that's not something that you would do, and you would like to ask what would make them think that you had done something along those lines.
Right.
So I have a question similar to hers, but like, what should we do if a teacher is demotivating you?
Again, the issue that you'll find, if you have a thought that they're doing that on purpose, you may ask them. You may also include your parents or guardian, or someone that's a friend of yours, and sometimes it could be another teacher. Sometimes it could be the principal that you would talk to and share with them why. Give some real clear examples in terms of why you think that they may be demotivating you as far as your work is concerned. Is it because you see them helping someone else and not helping you. You see them asking questions of other young people in the classroom, not asking you questions. You see them giving projects and opportunities for growth and enhancement to other young people, and they're not giving those opportunities, those same opportunities to you. And you hate to be in a situation where you have to play the role of trying to put an adult in check. But in essence, if you're having those kinds of thoughts, you may even ask a close friend, "Hey, do you think I'm getting dissed or something?" Ask that question. Don't be ashamed to ask that question, because when you cut buddies, and then begin to maybe take some notes and talk to your parents or another adult that's in your life and find out what they think, and then ask for a conference. Have your parent ask for a conference to come up and talk to you, talk to the teacher, and maybe talk to the principal, and have some clear examples or documentations in terms of what caused you to think that way.
Okay.
And that's very important, because sometimes it may be, and we found by looking at research at different times, that maybe some young people may not be what they call approachable. And so maybe that's an excuse that someone would use, that, well, every time I come around her, she's got a frown on her face, hand on her hip, she doesn't look like she's interested in trying to learn, but she should not, as a teacher, as an adult instructor, should not take that as an excuse not to approach you anyway, and try to make sure that you're having the same opportunities that the young people are in the classroom.
Since we're on the topic of school and students, how do you handle a conflict with a student in the classroom, or a disagreement you guys are having?
Yeah. Well, first, as we talked about our whole purpose here in terms of identifying and resolving conflict. Conflict is natural, and it's going to be in our lives for the rest of our lives. No matter where you are or who you're with, you can be with your best buddies, your best girlfriends, your best boyfriends, and still have conflict, just by the nature of the fact that you may have on a skirt and he may have on some pants. That's a conflict, because there's something that's different. Your favorite color may be blue, his favorite color may be red. That's a conflict. Now, just because you have a difference in terms of something that you may prefer as your favorite color versus their favorite color, does not justify why you should have to have an argument or a strong, heavy debate that's going to cause you to move into anger, rage, and violence. So again, when you're talking with some young people, oftentimes you're trying to find out, try to ascertain what's the reason for them being maybe in the mood that they're in. For example, if you know them well, if you've seen them a lot of times as far as your daily activities are concerned, you've played together before and different things of that nature, you have an idea of who they are from a personality perspective. You may be able to sometimes joke out of it and say, "Man, come on, wait, what's the deal? Okay, you know me better than that. So, I mean, why we even got to enter into that kind of conversation?" And so if they persist, then again, you always want to be clear. So you want to ask for some clarifying information in terms of why is it that we seem to have this conflict. Cause we cool, we've been hanging out together, we've been doing things together all the time, we've known each other for 3 or 4 years. I mean, so what's the essence of this? And where we trying to go with this? If you don't like my answer, so what we do next? Because you may not like my answer, that means we got to fight,
Right.
or what? So, so that's a good question. So try as best you can to fall back as far as you can on the strength of your relationship in terms of where you are. Now, if it's a person that you have not had a good relationship with, and that person, maybe you may know enough about them to know that maybe they're trying to pick a fight, that they have something going on where their sole purpose of engaging you in that particular manner is to try to push you to the edge, to try to get you to do something that is out of your character, and there's something that you don't want to do, but it's going to maybe benefit them, they think, or cause some other type of disruption that is certainly counterproductive and causes you not to be ladylike in terms of your behavior. Because one of the things that we're finding out more and more, now that young ladies, and I'm not sure if there's something that's in the water, but you young ladies, you're fighting now more than men, and more than the boys, and so what are your thoughts on that? Why do you sense that
Girls are just so
feeling?
catty, like
They so catty?
yeah, it's yeah.
Well, I've also noticed some things like on social media when there is like a fight, because I remember you talking about this on Sunday, that you went to go break up a fight. But I noticed on
Yes.
social media when there's a fight, typically there are also people, instead of like trying to intervene and just break them up, there are just people sitting there recording it and having laughs and giggles, and then it's being reposted, so no one's actually trying to help resolve. They're all instigating it.
Right, right. And that's very challenging. One of the things, one of the activities that I used to do with young people in terms of getting them together and talking about why it's detrimental for them to be involved in a fight. And we talk about the fact that everyone that's in that environment belongs to somebody. There's somebody's daughter, there's somebody's son, there's somebody's cousin, there's somebody's brother, there's somebody's friend. And you would not want to harm someone or cause someone to be harmed just because you have a temporary fit of anger, or you don't have control over your emotions and or your actions. And to think about the fact that what would happen if something gravely serious happened to someone who was involved in a fight, or what would happen, what's worse, for something gravely serious to happen to a bystander, someone who's just there. You know,
That's what
Wrong
happens
place,
a lot.
wrong time.
and they care about each of the individuals who are fighting, but they're almost in shock or spellbound and not knowing which side to pick or how to do whatever it is that they think is necessary to maybe break up the fight. The absence of tools that allow even adults, I say young people a lot of times, but we have a lot of adults who do not have the skills to resolve conflict at its lowest level. So identifying and resolving conflict at its lowest level is a very critical and very valuable skill. And when individuals are going to different places, trying to get a job and doing things of that nature, one of the things that employers look for a lot are people who have good team skills, good collaboration skills, good problem solving skills, and certainly those skills that allow them to be able to create a sense of harmony within the workplace. Because when you have that sense of harmony that's in the workplace, then productivity goes up, no matter what organization that it's in. So if you're a member, for example, of a girls' basketball team, you can't have constant conflict throughout practice, throughout games, because you are not able to use your skills and your talents to the max to play your role, your specific role, whether you're the point guard, whether you're the shooting guard, small forward, big forward, center. Each of you have a set of roles and responsibilities that allows that team to function at its best. And when one's mad at the other because the other's not doing what they're supposed to be doing, and a lot of times you see guys playing, ladies playing as well, and they'll make a bad pass. And instead of them blaming the person that they threw the pass to, first thing they'll say is my bad. Because they're taking responsibility for that bad pass. Or if you throw a good pass to somebody and they miss the pass, or you put them in a good position and they miss the shot, okay? The right thing to do is say, hey, my bad. That was a great pass, my bad, okay? Because then it puts you in a situation where you're not mad at each other. You may be temporarily angry because it may cause you not to get an assist or cause you not to get the team scoring record. But the issue, still bottom line, is that they didn't miss that pass on purpose. They didn't miss that shot on purpose. So you're being angry and attacking, I guess, if you will, in terms of that type of attitude does not help the situation.
So I have a question to piggyback off of what you just said. So if you have a team who's unwilling to take responsibility for stuff or is having just problems in general, how do you address that?
Right.
Well, that's a lot of times it's how the coaches selected players. So you can select players based upon talent and skill. And again, let's go with the basketball example. Sometimes too often, individual skills are looked at as a reason why you should be on a team. as opposed to how you use those individual skills to make the team better. And if your attitude is bad, if you're not a, quote, team player, then that person probably should not make the team, or that person should be maybe sitting on the bench until they learn how to be a team player. They learn how to respond and do what the coach asked them to do, both in practice and certainly in game time, on the crunch time. And then it's also incumbent upon the rest of the team members to have their talks. A lot of times, having been a coach, a lot of times it's okay. I think you guys, not doing what you should be doing to the best of your ability. Now I'm gonna leave you in this room, and when I come back in here, I want y'all to tell me how you can work together as a team. And so you put some responsibilities on them to sit and talk and figure out how they're gonna work together as a team to maximize the skills and talents that they have.
Okay, so
Now, this is fun.
this is fun. Okay, so I have a question. Like,
Okay.
how do you think we should handle like a disagreement with a higher authority, for example, the police? Because I know today that whole situation, you could play the race card too. It's just very up in the air on how you should react and what's the best thing to do to avoid any, downward spirals.
Okay, and that's a very, very relevant question right now because of all the things that are happening across the nation with some of the shootings that are happening, many of which we think are certainly not fair based upon what we see as evidence. One of the critical things is to, as best you can, try to put yourself in that other person's position and understand that we do have a lot of police officers who are naturally afraid because they would like to go home at the end of the day to their families as well. And then certainly you want to go home, at the end of the day. So regardless as to what you have done or what you're being accused of doing, at the end of the day, both parties deserve the right for fairness in terms of treatment and not to wind up in a situation where they're harmed or killed because of a traffic light violation or because of the fact that you mistakenly grabbed your phone getting ready to call somebody when they may have thought it was a gun. So there is a lot to learn, and there's no perfect answer right now. There's a lot to learn on both sides. We have too many situations where sometimes individuals, because they're already maybe already antsy and on edge because of what they've seen and what they've heard as far as TV and what they've heard in radio and the news, and so you're not really sure how to respond when you're stopped. But what you should do is to do as you're asked to do, first of all, by police. If you're asked to stop, if you're asked to show your driver's license, if you're asked to show any other type of ID and respond to questions that are logical, fair questions, who are you, etc. And there's certain things that maybe they shouldn't ask you depending on what type of attitude they have, but that time right there, especially if you're a young person, that is not the time to debate that issue. Right. It's not the time. You may want to get that person's name, that person's badge number, and do all that they ask you to do so you could make it to the next day, the next situation. And if you felt that you were treated unfairly, then you have that information in which you can share again with your parents, and they can approach the city or the county or whomever it may be to talk to that particular police department so they can get to the bottom of that situation. But your responsibility is to be safe and to comply as best you can with the commands that are given to you. It's not the time to be macho. It's not the time to be smart. It's not the time to, bulk up. You may be angry. They may be breaking up a fight, and you may be angry at this other person, but taking it out on that officer at that time or any adult, whether it be a principal or something of that nature, that's trying to break up that fight. Because see, they have the responsibility to break that situation up so that no one else gets hurt. That's a primary responsibility that they have. So you don't want to let your anger and the lack of self-control that you have cause you to be a victim, especially because of someone else's misactions. Great question, ladies. That's some good questions. Thank you.
I think we have time for another question. So, Essence, did you want to ask something?
What do you do when you're a witness to a tragic happening and you're kind of the only witness?
Well, we have a lot of anonymous opportunities to share information.
Right.
And we've had to use those anonymous opportunities for providing information so that we can catch the individual or individuals who have created this particular crime. One of the problems that we have, and certainly in certain communities, is that we have people who think that it's a crime. They call it snitching, of course. You know, you go through these processes. So they call it snitching. So it's a bad name. And I know we have this little, it's like a miniature police academy that we're working with young people over at E.J. Brown School. Okay. And we have a couple of police officers that are working with us, and we have about 12 7th and 8th graders. And so we pose some of these same type of questions to them as well. And we ask, would you tell? And they initially, the first response is no. I wouldn't tell, wouldn't say anything. If I saw somebody breaking into somebody's house and robbing the house, or if I saw someone hitting some lady in the head. So then you start breaking it down. Okay, what if the lady that was hitting the head was your grandmother? Okay, would you tell then? So click, yeah, oh yeah, I would tell then. Okay, I would tell. Okay, so the difference is that lady is still somebody's grandmother.
Right.
Okay, so somebody's grandmother got hit in the head. They may have taken her purse, they may have taken her groceries, she may be walking back from the grocery store or something along those lines. So it's still a crime that was committed, and it's still a work in progress with us communicating more and more to our young people to help us all understand that snitching is not necessarily a crime, but it's a way of trying to keep your community safe. Because if you want to be able to call the police and the police to get there, because first of all, they don't have a high volume of crime that prevents them from getting to your particular situation on a timely basis. And if they're coming and no one in your community is cooperating when they're trying to find the culprit, because this person may be the person who's creating the crime. This person may have created 6 or 7 crimes or robberies within that particular community, and the police has come out each time, and even though people may have seen who did it, they don't want to, quote, snitch on that person, so the crime continues. So if you want those crimes to stop, you have to take some action, and if you're afraid, which is honest, it's legitimate, then you may just have to find some anonymous vehicles in which to communicate who that person may be that's creating those crimes.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah. You know, one of the challenges that we had too, we were talking earlier about how do you respond to police, and or not just police, but when we look at young black men, and historically, black males are supposed to be the macho person. And based upon community, based upon other things that you're dealing with, we have had to develop this type of insulation, if you will. This insulation that sometimes it's a false toughness. You know, I got to walk around with a little bit of frown on my face. I got to have my special walk, let everybody know I'm bad, because I'm trying to ward off and deflect anyone who may be coming at me wrong. So I don't want to be in a situation where I'm just inviting people to come at me because they think I'm soft. So I gotta pretend like I'm hard even though I'm not hard. And when they create that type of persona, you also sometimes make it difficult for sometimes friends or associates to get close to you. For example, you were talking earlier about the teacher, for example, that may not be given the same opportunities for each particular person in the classroom. You know, this particular situation, and I've seen it repeatedly over and over again for years, how you have some young men, because they are sometimes not sure themselves, they're not comfortable themselves, they're creating this kind of outward shell that causes people to not come at them in a soft way, because of the fact that they're afraid of being vulnerable. So those are just key things that we have to find some solutions to. And how can you be yourself? How can you be your real self? And break down some of these barriers so that people can get to know the real you, so you can be the positive, productive person that you are inside, and use your skills and talents to make a positive contribution to society.
I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
With kind of what you said, when if men like decide to change, I've also noticed that people will still hold their past against them. So how could people deal with like people trying to deal? I don't know how to word this.
Trying to keep them in their past.
Yes.
So pull the curtain or close the door behind their past. Yeah, and that's very challenging, because we've had over the last maybe 10, 15 years, we've had laws that have been increasingly detrimental and hard, if you will, in terms of not letting people escape from their past when they made a mistake when they were 15 or when they were 14 years old. And now they've had a stellar, clear record for 15, 10, 20, 30 years, but they're still being in a situation where society is still holding them accountable for something that they did when they were 15 years old. And there are laws that are being discussed right now at the federal level and state level to try to sponge some records, to try to have a situation where they seal those records so that they allow that person to move forward, if you will, based upon what they've done the last 20 years as opposed to what they did 40 years ago. And now it's sort of hard in a lot of cases, because you have certain segments of society who wants to hold them totally accountable for those things that they've done in the past and not allow them to move to the next level. And so we have to find a way to make those happen. And those things happen through a legislative process, through voting, and putting the right people in place, and rallying around those individuals with clear sets of guidelines in terms of what you want your representatives to do.
Okay. So. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Okay. Time has gone by quickly.
I know.
No wood.
I want to keep talking.
Yeah.
You provided a lot of knowledge and answers to our questions.
Yes.
So I know I will be taking what you said into consideration when I have to deal with conflict.
Okay. Now, I don't know how much time we have, but quickly, can you tell me what are you going to do when you graduate?
I'm going to go to Sinclair for a year or two, and then I'll probably transfer to Cleveland State.
Major in what?
I don't know yet.
Okay, we'll figure it out. Yes, ma'am.
I want to major in either forensic science or biomedical sciences and pursue pre-med.
Okay, all right.
We are literally twins. Because I was going to go to Cleveland State to study biomedical engineering.
Okay, that's super. So I hope we didn't run out of time, but I wanted to get that out there so that if there's anyone out there in the community that see you ladies walking around and figure out how to help you out a little bit.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you
so much.
You.
Thank you for your time.
All right.